Hello everybody, how are you all doing? Welcome back to Man City Unplugged, your very own Man City fan channel. The match was fantastic. It was anything but a pre-season friendly, I would say. The Club America players were, they were going into tackles like it was a competitive match and all of that. Overall, we got a good experience. I thought after the match that overall even though we just have two preseason games, overall we really got a lot of good experience when compared to other teams. Like a United's, Liverpool's, their friendlies didn't seem as competitive as it did. So I was really happy with the experience we got in that friendly match, and the player ratings are actually interesting. And it's not that all of our players were. Up to speed, and they were running and they set the field on fire and all that. There were some performances that really told me things about some players that really stood out, and then there were other players whom you thought, well, he needs to get the ground running. He needs to be a bit more sharp. The lack of fitness is evident in him, and all that stuff. So lots to discuss actually, with David Raum finding another club, Cucurella's first official bid from City being rejected, and I think the performance of a certain young left back, could it have an impact on that Cucurella deal? Pep's thoughts were interesting after the match, so a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. But we'll initially start off with the player ratings. First thing is, I'll go with Stephan Ortega. Stephan Ortega was, shot stopping was never in question with Jack Stephan as well. For example, we all knew Jack. Okay, towards the fag end of last season, Stephan cost us with his irrational decision making. His shot stopping was not as good and stuff, but. Short stopping was not the thing about was not the problem with earlier keepers who we have got as competition for Ederson. But with Stephan Ortega, always my worry was his distribution. How good is his distribution? At what level is his distribution when compared to Ederson? Could he even lay a claim for that starting spot? Could even show signs that yes, I can compete for the starting spot with Ederson. This match it clearly showed me that Stephan Ortega is ready to compete with Ederson. I would not be surprised if Pep plays him as a Champions League goalkeeper and Ederson as a Premier League goalkeeper. Stephan Ortega, you could well say, maybe would not be surprised if Pep plays him as a cup goalkeeper, for example. The thing that stood out for me with Stephan Ortega is his distribution. His chipped passes over to Kyle Walker, for example, the way he was comfortable passing out to Luka Mbiti, passing out to Nathan Ake, everyone, it just seemed as if his distribution was very, very good. Even in the Premier League, just on the basis of distribution, I would say Stephen Ortega, maybe he's even better than Allison at this point. So, and I gave him a very good rating and not the excellent rating, not the highest rating here. The only reason for that is he made a bit of a positioning error there for Club America's first goal. Maybe it was a communication mistake with Ake or something. I don't know, but that goal was not on him actually. So overall, a very good performance. Very, very happy with Stephen Ortega's performance. On we go to the next player, Kyle Walker. Was actually a bit surprised with Pep going with all of the first team players like Walker, Cancello. He almost put out the first team because I actually thought maybe Pep will get in a blend of youth and experience, and then in the second half as well, he will get a few senior players in and get a few youth players in. I thought the combination would be like that, but I don't know why Pep did this, that he brought on all of the senior players started, and then in the second half it was almost all of your, it almost seemed at a point in the 75th minute that it was almost all of the EDS players playing. So that was very interesting for me. But Kyle Walker didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Kyle Walker was, I think he did a very good job in terms of what was asked of him. His fitness levels and everything were really good. He was someone who looked very sharp. That was surprising because He after the season ended, he didn't play anywhere or something like that. So Kyle Walker looked very sharp. Kyle Walker, he received those chipped passes from Stephan Ortega very well. He cut inside well. Defensively, he was rock solid. Kyle Walker did what you expect of Kyle Walker, but nothing special. So I would say just an above average performance. Nothing too good or nothing too bad, and that's what is expected from your fullback, right? If you can get that 7 out of 10 above average performance almost on most days, Pep will be happy with that. Vinay is here. Hey Vinay, how are you doing? Baldi does can do anything. Exactly, Vinay. Kyle Walker. And then Nathan Ake. I mean, Nathan Ake, I think you guys would be surprised with the rating actually, because most of the people I talked to were telling that Nathan Ake had a very decent game. Nathan Ake had a very good game. But for me, why I gave him an average rating here. The reason is, if you look at the goal last season in the first match against Spurs, exactly the same goal he conceded, one on one with Hong Min Son. Hong Min Son spun him like a bottle top, and then he hit him for goal. Exactly the same way in which the Club America striker has hit him. I mean, he was composed in passing out from the back. He improved in that aspect. One on ones, as always, he was good, except for that one moment, when the striker spun him. So, I mean, for me, he didn't learn from the mistake of what happened last season. So, so actually, I think that's why that is the reason for the bad rating, because that is unacceptable. That is unacceptable for Pep. That is unacceptable for the fans, that you don't learn from what happened last season. Vinay says age factor is affecting Walker. Maybe it is affecting Walker, but you're right in a way, because Walker doesn't go forward, Vinay, as much as he used to in the previous days. He chooses when to go forward, when to have that sprint and all. Attacking wise, he's choosing his forays forward very very carefully. But defensive wise, Kyle Walker has just aged like a wine. He's just become so good, especially in his decision making. I sometimes think Pep's idea in mind is to slowly transition Kyle Walker into a centre back, with age getting on. Because with age getting on, he will lose his space. He will be subject to more injuries. I honestly see centre back as a good position for Kyle Walker in the next days. So Nathan Ake overall an average game, because that one mistake, it was a goal conceding mistake. I know it's pre-season, but Ake looked sharp. Fitness was not the problem. See, if fitness is the problem, that's fine. I understand. I would not have that effect in the rating, but it was genuinely a mistake for Ake, which he didn't learn from last season. Luka Mbiti for me was the standout performer of the match, along with two more others. Very, very strong in his running, composed on the ball, got pace, got a bit of an explosive pace with the defender, I would say. One on ones, Luka Mbiti was put in one on one situations, I think, 3, 4 times at least. And he defended one-on-one situations better than Ake. Ake, I consider Ake as one of the best in the top 3, 4 one-on-one centre backs in the world, and in Premier League, not the world. And Luka Mbiti for me almost did better than Nathan Ake. For me, I think the more I look at Luka Mbiti, I actually think he could be a successor of Vincent Kompany. I mean, before coming into this match, I thought that, okay, look, MBT has the things, physicality, the pace, and everything to be a defender, but does he have the qualities to be a Pep Guardiola defender? Does Luka MBT have that recognition of space? Can Luka MBT defend large amount of space? That was the big question for me. And today, yesterday, I'm sorry, our pressing was piss poor actually. Our pressing was very poor. So that meant a lot. There was no pressure on the ball, and the opponents were able to put a lot of long balls forward to the striker. And Luka Mbiti defended all of them extremely well. There was one moment I thought, aha, Luka Mbiti has arrived. The moment was, you had a Club America striker who was threatening to cut inside the box, and there was another winger of Club America who was on the other side of the post. Now MBT had a decision to make. Should I cover? Should I go and cover the other player, or should I defend the cross? Should I defend the box? Lot of centre backs, when experienced centre backs would have gone and covered the other player. Luka Mbiti defended the box there. That shows his confidence that I can block the cross. It's not the man, it's the space that I'm defending. It's that recognition, that intelligence of recognizing which space you should defend and when should you defend, when should you go with your man. That told me that MBT is ready to go into the first team actually. Vinay says MBT did well, only few errors being newbie. I think just one, he made just one error, Vinay, Luka MBT, and that one error was also on that Nathanake goal. He just didn't, he was just jogging back a bit. He didn't sprint, but then again, the error was of Nathanake. MBT might have covered for him, but apart from that, I think he looked very well. But will he play versus Bayern? I expect Luke MBT to start versus Bayern Vinay because John Stones is not there, Aymeric Laporte is not there, right? So Nathanake, MBT, and maybe a Calvin Phillips are our centre backs. Ruben Diaz is there, so I expect maybe a Ruben Diaz and a Luka MBT to start actually. Uh, but he surely Pep should give more chances to youth versus Bayern. I was a bit disappointed with Pep in that regard. Joa Cancello again. If this was a competitive game, again I would give Joa Cancello a below average performance rating. But I think with Joa Cancello again, I would not go too harshly on him because it's just a preseason game. Misplaced a few passes, was not sharp enough, didn't sprint back much. I mean, it looked clearly that Luka MBT was. I'm sorry. It looked clear that Cancelo was not up to fitness. So I know preseason games are for building fitness, but Cancelo needs to show against Bayern that he has improved fitness wise. From this game, and he should get running up to speed because we have a community shield against Liverpool next weekend, I think, just after a week. So I know it's just two preseason games, but again, no excuses can be accepted. MBT must start exactly when MBT and a lot of other youth must start. There was a problem actually with the way Pep bought in youth. We'll talk about that a little later in the show. It was a kind of a big problem with me, for me, with the way Pep actually used youth. Rodri was one of the standout players in the midfield for me. Among all of the other players who looked a bit rusty, Rodri again surprisingly he looked almost in full flow, and Rodri looked like a captain figure over there. He was commanding, he was composed. He was the only one who was pressing actually in that midfield. Bernardo was not pressing. He was the one who was dictating the press in that midfield. Rodri did his interceptions well. I think Rodri did Rodri things. He had a very good game. I think nothing spectacular in terms of scoring a goal or something like that. Maybe I thought he could have put in a few more long passes, good long passes. Could have switched play a little bit more. But then Rodri again looked back to speed. Had an above average game for me. Nothing good and nothing bad. Had a steady game. Had a stable game for me. Bernardo, again, if this was not a preseason, I would give Bernardo a below average performance. It's a preseason, that's why I give Bernardo an average rating here. But for me, again, uh, I mean, in all of the competitive games last season, Bernardo has not played this bad. You know, this was a bad game. This was one of the worst games of Bernardo in the entire of last year. For a moment, I was thinking, was is Bernardo's mind elsewhere and all of those thoughts. But then I just think it's a lack of fitness thing because Bernardo was losing balls a lot in the midfield, which is unlike him. His pressing was absent. But again, I think it's just due to a lack of sharpness there. But again, from Bernardo, you at least expect a steady game, if not spectacular. You at least expect an above average game. Because Bernardo, even in his sleep, can give you an average and an above average game. Vinay says Rodri has good interceptions, tackles. It was on show as well, Vinay, there against the club against Club America. His interceptions, tackles. Again, Rodri 2 years back is different to the Rodri now. He doesn't have pace, but he reads the play extremely well. I think that is where his interceptions have improved. Bernardo looked well off. He looked more than well off, Bernardo. But again, entire of last season he played very well, so you could excuse him. You could just say fine, if you want to have an off game, have it here. This is the best place to have an off game, not when the real thing starts. But we'll slowly go into other players who it, their performances were almost inexcusable. We'll look into that. Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne just based. I mean, if you didn't watch the match and if you just saw the score sheet, you would think that Kevin De Bruyne should get a 10 on 10 rating, should get that excellent rating there on the meter. But Kevin De Bruyne also looked off, I would say, except for his finishing, his goal scoring, the shots to goal scores, both the shots for scoring goals, both the finishes, they were excellent. But in terms of pure passing, De Bruyne misplaced a few passes. He didn't press well. His defensive work looked a bit off. But again, a preseason and he's got two goals. So you can understand De Bruyne's level. When I'm saying that De Bruyne is also well off, but then still he comes up with two goals and comes up with a 9 out of 10 performance. You can see when he's on the ball how good Kevin De Bruyne would be. So Kevin De Bruyne also again looked short of max sharpness, but that will scare the shit out of rivals, because man who's short of max sharpness has got a rating of 9 on 10. So what will he do when he's fully there? Riyad Mahrez again. For me, I mean, that pass which Riyad Mahrez gave for De Bruyne's second goal was just sumptuous. If you just look at Riyad Mahrez in terms of stats and stuff, you would see that, well, Mahrez didn't do anything, but defensively Mahrez was excellent. He always tracked back and he helped Kyle Walker. That desire to press was there. Mahrez always drifted in field and helped out Bernardo at times to keep the ball, De Bruyne at times to keep the ball. So Mahrez for me had, I mean, in the last 1 2 years, maybe I know this would be a bit of a controversial comment, I think, but in the last at least 1 2 years, this was one of the most controlled and decisive games from Mahrez I've seen. There were a few games like this in the Madrid game, second leg and stuff, but this was, I mean, a game in which Mahrez didn't do any mistake. He exactly knew when to pass the ball and he exactly knew when to keep the ball. He exactly knew when to dribble, when to pass back, when to pass forward. Took the risks exactly. What was the most controlled game from Riyad Mahrez? This is the Mahrez that Pep really wants. Vinay says some missed passes, but last season he came from injury recovery, took months to regain form. Now this preseason, his superb, his goal scoring touch has never left him. Vinay, that is one of the most important things I would say, because that finishes. Now this is a dilemma for defenders. Do you mark Haaland, or do you go out to Mahrez, or do you mark Kevin De Bruyne? Because if you mark Kevin De Bruyne, Haaland will get you. If you go out and if you mark Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne will hit those shots. Uh, so De Bruyne's goal scoring form for me is something very good. It's irresistible. Vinay says respect for Mahrez. He's in and out blue. He's enjoying himself. I mean, especially at a time when there were good offers from elsewhere. There were talks that PSG wanted Riyad Mahrez. There were talks about a Real Madrid as well, Barcelona maybe, Bayern Munich were sometimes in the conversation, but Mahrez always wanted to stay here. He was clear, even though Pep hinted that maybe Mahrez will not get as many minutes as last season, because Cole Palmer might be getting more minutes, Alvarez could be getting more minutes, but still Mahrez didn't drop the guard, wanted to stay here. Fantastic from Mahrez, thorough professional. I think Mahrez will go down in the hearts of many City fans as a true legend of the club. Also, I would say Vinicius Milan was easy for him though. Yes, yes, he actually had offer from Milan as well, I think, and also at those clubs, especially at Milan, I think Mahrez would start day in and day out, and yet he refused those offers. I really have great respect for these players. Players who, despite having more playing time elsewhere, still choose to stay with the club. That just shows how much they love the club over some players who choose to move away. So fantastic from Mahrez. I really expect him to start the season on fire. and I expect him to start the first game for sure on that right wing. Jack Grealish. Now let us come to Jack. If this was a competitive game, I would have given Jack a 1 or 2 or even a 0 rating. This was a pre-season friendly, that's why I was a bit lenient on Jack Grealish, and I gave him a below average performance. Honestly speaking, the performance from Jack Grealish was piss poor. It was such a shambolic performance, I would say. Okay, you could argue that he played to the midfield in the second half and he got some good moments, but he missed a one-on-one mate in the second half. Why did we move on Sterling? Why did we move on Gabriel Jesus? For a lack of finishing. Some of my friends who are other club fans were asking, okay, you got rid of Raheem Sterling. Now is Jack Grealish the new Raheem Sterling in terms of finishing? I was so pissed off by that. Finishing, decisive moments. I mean, one on one with the goalkeeper, had a chance to go either side of the goalie, and he just shot straight at the goalkeeper. How many times have we seen this happening with Sterling and Jesus, and now Jack Grealish doing this? I mean, it's pre-season. You're not sharp. Lack of fitness. Everything is acceptable. The same thing you're seeing with Bernardo, Cancelo. Bruyne was not sharp and was not at his usual best. But lack of finishing is never an excuse, Jack. That too in a one-on-one situation. No excuses at all for what you have done. And also, he was holding on to the ball too much. Jack Grealish was not decisive enough. He breakthrough moves a very fluid move. I think he broke it through twice or thrice when he built out from the back. MBT building out from the back to Cancelo to Grealish. He slows down the move. He wants to dribble. He wants to stand up the man. That is not how it works at City, mate. At Aston Villa, you might be the machine, Jack Grealish, but at City, you're just a working part in that machine. If you don't work, we bring in someone. The machine will go on. You're not the machine here. You're just a small part in the machine, Jack. It's up to you. You want to adjust to this machine of City, or you want to go out. You need to improve, mate. If you want to start next season, sorry, start this season. Football Freaks is here. Hey, Football Freaks, how are you? He says, I love the Grealish game yesterday because he was trying to attract players so others get a free run. I mean, that thing is, I was fine with attracting players, Football Freaks, but he holds on to the bloody ball too much as well, which means you break down the moves. So that is my only criticism of big criticism of Jack Grealish. Okay, you see, Mahrez also plays in the same style as Grealish, right? In terms of holding up the ball. So Grealish held up the ball, Mahrez held up the ball. But Mahrez passed to De Bruyne, set up a goal. Mahrez passed back, Mahrez passed into midfield. Whenever the ball went to the right wing to Mahrez, you never saw a breakdown of play. The machine was moving. But whenever the ball went to Grealish, it was almost like it seemed his decision making was diluted. It was under a cloud which is not clear. So I think that was the problem. Holding up play, attracting players. Even Mahrez has done that, but that bit is the difference. I think releasing the ball at the right moment is something which Grealish needs to learn. Vinay says one thing is frustrating. Slowing down with just dribbling and no result. Exactly, Vinay. And also, Mahrez also had this problem. If you guys remember, especially at the start of his career at City, he used to hold on to the ball too much. And once there were news that Aguero and Kevin De Bruyne almost had a showdown with him, telling him that you can't hold on to the ball like this in the dressing room. And then after that, he really became a better player. So I think Grealish needs to put that in his game. But then I actually have a question for you guys. Do you actually think left wing is the right position for Jack Grealish, or do you think midfield is the right position for Jack Grealish? Because in the second half, Grealish played in the midfield and he had some wonderful moments. He literally skipped past 2, 3 players, I think twice or thrice, through the midfield and then release the ball. I think even in the first half, for for a moment, Bernardo went into the wing position and Grealish came to Bernardo's position, and then he really drove forward with the ball. He dribbled and escaped challenges, and he got the ball forward. So my thinking here is, okay, when Mahrez came and Mahrez was having these problems, Mahrez was already a winger, on the right wing, so he'll improve there. But the question here is, has Pep got this wrong for once? Is Grealish a midfield player than a winger, and are we just shoving him in there and being unfair to him? Football glitches. He lacks finishing, but he gives us dead ball or free kicks, which helps us to get goals from set pieces. Especially with Haaland, he can score all out of headers. Exactly, that is another quality of Grealish. I think set pieces and all. But again, I do think he has to put in the ball a little bit more quickly than become more predictable. That is the problem with Grealish. But I do think that wing might not be the correct position for Grealish. Always, I think it might be the central midfield, which we might see him more often. Football Click says midfield is the best position, and for Bernardo is wings. Football Click says, mark my words, Grealish and Haaland partnership will be the one to watch. Hoping that is the case. Football Click, that Grealish comes alive in this system. Actually, Grealish comes alive this season, because when Grealish is on it, his creativity, his passing, I mean, the finishing of Jack Grealish is something also which is actually very good. Again, I'm wondering actually, after coming to City, how did his finishing become so crap? Because at a Villa, his finishing was actually very good from long range, from, I mean, one on one with goalkeepers. Jack Grealish would actually kill it most of the times. Again, maybe the Sterling and his finishing bug had caught on with Grealish as well. Gaurav is here. Hey Gaurav, how are you? He says your views on Pau Torres links today, especially after MBT performance. Gaurav, I'm thinking it doesn't make sense even more. Pau Torres things, because MBT is, I mean, it's almost the same profile of the player, right? Left-footed, and MBT has pace. Pau Torres doesn't have pace. The passing of MBT, I would say, the passing and running with the ball, MBT is better than Pau Torres. Okay, the competitive level, Pau Torres is more experienced, but MBT for me is MBT an improvement on Laporte. Maybe not now, but talent wise, that ceiling wise, I think MBT is an improvement on Laporte. Is Pau Torres an improvement on Laporte? No, Pau Torres is not an improvement on Laporte. Same sort of a player. So maybe 2-3 days ago before the match, that Pau Torres links, I was thinking maybe City could go for him, because 40 million pounds. It's a doable deal, no competition for Pau Torres and stuff. But with MBT's performance, I think MBT is straight on. Is the fourth centre back for me this season. Football Click says Grealish and Haaland have formed a bond, guys. It's just a lack of game time is the reason. I mean, hopefully, Football Critics, we will see Grealish and Haaland start against Bayern. So then we will know the partnership, how it works. But slowing down of the game is actually a problem with Grealish. That is one thing he needs to address actually, to take his game to the next level. Vinay says Grealish can't put in. Uh, can't be put in midfield. Bernardo does both defending and passing. We already have KDB. I don't know. Pep has to come up with something. Even that is what I was also thinking. Pep has to come up with something. But let us once go and look at the idea of why we signed Jack Grealish actually. I think it was in 2019-20 season, I think, where Bernardo didn't have good game time the previous season, and the links were that Bernardo would leave, and it is then that we bought in Jack Grealish, and then Bernardo stayed and he had a breakthrough season, a very good season. So the idea behind signing Jack Grealish was to play him in central midfield. But due to the performances of Bernardo, due to the work rate of Bernardo, due to the defensive prowess of Bernardo, Pep was forced his hand actually to play Grealish in the left wing. But I do think now that maybe that midfield position for Grealish is even more closed before, because Calvin Phillips has come now, right? Calvin Phillips can play that CM position along with the CDM position. Is much better defensively than Jack Grealish. His passing range is also good. He presses well in that CM position. So I think the midfield position might actually be closed for Jack Grealish. So now he has to either improve on the wing, or he would maybe sit on the bench. Just my thoughts. Football Fix is Pau Torres is same age as well. Pau Torres is 25, 24, 20. Is Pau Torres 24, 25? I think, right? So again, doesn't actually make sense for me. I mean, the move doesn't make sense for Pau Torres as well, right? You're coming from a team which is in the Champions League, I guess. I don't know much where is Villarreal, but it might be in the Champions League. You start every day basically at Villarreal in its city. You maybe start the cup games, and that's all. You, especially with Nathan Ake there, if you're Pau Torres, you're sitting on the bench 90% of the time. So I mean, the deal doesn't make sense on both sides, on Pau Torres' side as well as the players as well as the club side. I think because you're again affecting the path of a youngster. And personally, if you ask my opinion, I think anything again, how Pep should go in this transfer window is, if you want a player, is he available in the academy? No, then you look outside. But we have the answer. MBT is available in the academy. Vinay says, according to sources close to Villarreal, Pau Torres is close to signing for Man City. No, Vinay, I don't think this is reliable. Actually, this is not reliable at all. The only player for which City is active right now, according to all our tier one journalists, be David Ornstein, Martin Blackburn, Fabrizio Romano, is Cucurella, Martin Cucurella. And we have had an official bid of 30 million pounds, which was rejected for Cucurella. I think we had a bid 2 3 days back, and it was rejected. And Cucurella is said to be furious with Brighton, because he has told them a month back that he wants to leave. We will actually discuss that in depth once we get away with ratings, because there is a kind of a domino effect going on with fullbacks. Actually, a few of our fullback targets are close to signing elsewhere. So we'll actually discuss that. Let's just finish with the ratings. uh, Julian Alvarez for me was again the standout player for me. Almost close to the man of the match performance. He was excellent. I would say 10 on 10 rating. I mean, the pressing, the way the positions that he moved into, basically it looked like he was playing in that Pep system for a decade. Actually, his movement was so precise that it fitted all of the things that Pep Guardiola wants from a striker. And I've actually seen a River Plate fan telling actually that the coach Alvarez had at River Plate is called as the Pep Guardiola of Argentina. So it's almost the similar styles that they play. So his pressing, his energy, his work rate, his defensive prowess, link up play. I mean, one of the moments that stood out for me about Alvarez is there was a moment when Alvarez gets the ball and he flicks it onto Jack Grealish, and of course Jack Grealish misses it. I think that was when Grealish has had a fight. The keeper pulls his hair and stuff like that. So that, I mean, I saw that moment and said, "Wow, this guy is better than Harry Kane in linking up play." What a player, Julian Alvarez. Fantastic. And we got him for how much? 18 million pounds, guys. This is how you operate efficiently in the transfer window. Calvin Phillips, Calvin Phillips for me had an above average game. Again, nothing special, but he again looked like he just fitted into the system. I know he played at centre back yesterday, didn't show all of his best qualities, but again, you're making your debut for a new team, and you're put in an unfamiliar position. And that too, Phillips was put with a Luca MBT, with a Wilson S. Brand, and with a Rico Williams on that side. So it's almost that he was the senior head in a position where he didn't have much experience, and Phillips did well. And I mean, putting Phillips at centre back, I think you can read into Pep's mind a bit on what Pep wants to do this season actually, because I think Pep sees Calvin Phillips as that hybrid between a CM, CDM, and a centre back. But I think he just looks at Peace with City. He just looks like he's already playing in the team for the last 2 3 years. Phillips looks really good. Cole Palmer for me. I mean, here comes a bit. with which I'm a bit disappointed. The disappointing thing for me starts with the fact that Pep started all of the first team players in the first half, and then Pep almost threw on the entire youth team in the second half. If you look at the second half, it seemed like your EDS team was playing, with the exception of maybe Calvin Phillips or and Stephan Ortega. I thought that the youth players were a bit flustered. I mean, what Pep should have done is mix it up, start a few young players and youth in the first half, and then do the same in the second half, so that you have a blend of experience and blend of youth playing through. Cole Palmer, actually, to be fair, had a below average performance, but I gave him an average rating just to give him the benefit of doubt over there. Cole Palmer, he had one good moment where he stood a defender up and dribble past him. Apart from that, his decision making was defensive for me. Cole Palmer, he always went back instead of going forward. It seemed with the youth players for me that they were afraid of losing the ball. It seemed that the youth players were playing under a kind of pressure, seeing all these superstars, that we should make the most of our opportunity. Otherwise, we might not be playing in this team in anywhere soon. Because we know what Cole Palmer is and what his talent is. Against Swindon Town in the Champions League, got some minutes in the Premier League, unflustered, scored goals in all of the matches in which he got minutes last season, was unflustered, and suddenly he looked nervous yesterday. I really don't know why he looked nervous, but Pep should actually fill him with more confidence. Don't know what went wrong for Cole Palmer yesterday. Was way too defensive. He protected the ball too much. I thought went back and back. James McAtee, same problem. It was almost a mirror image of what happened with Cole Palmer. James McAtee, again, he preferred passing back more than forward. Sometimes when there was a pass on, James McAtee didn't pass it. Instead, he chose the safe route, sideways passing. See, this is not what we see from McAtee and Palmer. Surely, both of them could not have felt nervous. There is some problem actually. Going out there. Pep needs to rectify it with the youth and fill them with confidence. Josh Wilson Esbrand, again, for me, was the standout performer of yesterday. He had a fantastic game at left back. By the way, do you guys think that Josh Wilson Esbrand uh, might be the replacement of Zinchenko? And also, do you guys think if we don't get Cucurella in the worst case situation, is Josh Wilson Esbrand ready to start for City in the Premier League in that left back position? Because for me, he played. I mean, his one twos, the way he cut inside, he went into the box. I mean, Josh Wilson Esbrand showed exactly what we were missing, because with Cancelo was always cutting inside, but with Wilson Esbrand, it was like he he was someone who provided natural width, I would say. He went outside. One of the crosses he put into the box was actually excellent. So for me, Josh Wilson Esbrand, he has laid a marker, and Pep will have a think about offering him a first team spot. Liam Delap, again, for me, an above average performance. Again, his link up play was excellent, but Delap's strength is getting him into shooting positions. Delap didn't get into those shooting positions, but apart from that, he almost, again, a mirror image of Julian Alvarez, did everything right except for maybe. We didn't provide him with service. Liam Delap almost put in a graveyard shift. I would say he came back a lot. One of his passes to Palmer, I think it was very good. Reminded me of Harry Kane, for example. So Liam Delap did well, but again we didn't give enough service to him. Football Freak says Grealish will be the key against Bayern. He can hold the ball against Bayern, pace, plus he got us all out of free kick against Bayern. Will be interesting the position which Grealish will play against Bayern. Will it be on the left wing? Because Football Freaks, I think maybe a Haaland will debut against Bayern, which actually means that Alvarez will start shortly. Will really start against Bayern. I don't know the players which Pep plays him will be interesting. Maybe Pep could do the Pep thing and put Jack Grealish in that midfield position. You never know. But I surely want Grealish to start against Bayern. Gaurav says, I think Grealish signing was more commercial for City, in my view. Uh, I mean, there was an element of commercial thing in that, but I think 50%, 60% was commercial, but there was a lot of footballing thinking to that as well, because we just don't do deals for the commercial things, because Bernardo was leaving that season and so Grealish had to be bought in. So it was not for a commercial thing, but I think Pep really thought that Grealish could be a really good addition in that central midfield position. So I don't agree that it was actually a commercial signing. Vinicius Foden can be in midfield, has that covering pace and then put in good balls. He can put in good balls and he's tenacious in his press as well, Phil Foden. So I actually think that Phil Foden would be very suited to that deep lying role. So I think that's why Jack Grealish should be a bit worried actually. If you're Jack Grealish, you're thinking there are a lot of contenders to that midfield spot now, central midfield spot. The midfield spot, the attacking midfield spot is anyway filled. Now on the left wing spot as well, Alvarez can play there. Uh, and then Pep has a lot of options. Foden can play there. So Grealish, I think Grealish will realize that the competition has got on even more tough this season than in the previous seasons. So I think Grealish needs to pull his socks up. We know all of Grealish's qualities. We know that he has great talent, but you know how Pep picks his teams. Pep picks his teams based on how they perform on the field, based on the qualities that they show him and stuff like that. So Grealish needs to pull his socks up. Football Critics is coming back to left back. Why not we go for Marcelo? He's a free agent veteran as well. Again, football kicks. I think that Pep wants a left back who can actually start regularly. I think I would not be surprised if Walker's game time is maybe reduced a bit this season because age is getting on for him, and Cancelo plays on the right back position, and maybe a Cucurella whoever starts on left back position on a regular basis. So I don't think in that regard Marcelo could be an option, and also with Marcelo coming in, maybe would it affect the path of Josh Wilson Esperant? Could it delay him? Because then Marcelo again becomes an option in which you have to play him. Maybe since he's in, you have to play him in a few cup games and things like that. So that could actually become an issue again. So lot of issues there. Football Click says Cucurella will be done in our next bid and it will be close to 40 million. Hoping for that way. Football Critics, especially with City going on in official. I think, but what if Brighton reject the 40 thing? That is what I'm thinking. What will we do? Vinay says Julian looked like he has played for Man City. Perfect work rate. Defensively can play right wing and Haaland striker. Showed all of the qualities. I mean, Alvarez was better than Harry Kane. Now I'm glad that we didn't get Harry Kane last season. Otherwise, again, we would have ended up with a striker of 20 of 30, 29, 30 years, 120 million pounds, no resale value, striker who is picking up injuries. So it's good. See, whenever we miss out on a player in the transfer window, on hindsight, it seemed very bad. Missing out on Harry Kane without a striker, can you compete? But now it seems good, right? So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for all of the other deals. If we miss out on a player, we should think that actually it has happened for our good, because that is how the transfer window has worked in the past for us. Football Trick says, I told in the comment as well that Delap is the next Harry Kane. Exactly, Football Tricks. And Delap has that finishing as well, like a Harry Kane, everything. The only thing is his path may be really tough because he's competing with almost two of Europe's lethal strikers, two of Europe's best strikers. Vinay says EDS players in second half will give 5 by 10. It was just a playing time, I guess. The EDS players surprisingly looked afraid. Look at Kaiki's ratings. Uh, Kaiki received a ball from the midfield. Josh Wilson Esperant was on the outside. I think it was Liam Delap who was on the inside in a good attacking position, and Kaiki chose to go himself. Kaiki was not even passing the ball at all. This is not just a problem for Kaiki. I mean, a lot of the youth suffered from this in that second half. Don't know why. I'm still struggling and thinking, why did our youth feel so nervous? Actually, has to be some reason there. Do they think that it's a do or die thing, that they're either playing for this spot? If you don't, they don't do well in the preseason. If they commit mistakes, they won't be there in the first team or what? I do not know, but seeing the youth, I'm like, I don't know why they're feeling nervous. It's, I mean, Rico Williams. I'm sorry, it's Rico Lewis actually. Rico Lewis was interesting. I mean, I think he played for only 5-10 minutes, but then this guy has extreme pace. Some people say that he could be a replacement for Kyle Walker as well. He was extremely composed in that passing, actually in that right back position. He drifted in field, he overlapped. Rico Lewis did well in whatever time he has got. Both our fullbacks actually put on really good performances, Wilson Esbrand and Rico Lewis. So I would start Rico Lewis against Bayern just to see. I mean, I would start Rico Lewis and Wilson Esbrand against Bayern just to see how these people react to big situations. You never know, a diamond, a gem could be found out over there. So you actually never know unless you throw someone under pressure. So if I'm Pep, I would actually start at least Josh Wilson Esbrand against Bayern in that left back position. So those are the ratings. Most of the players did well, except for a few lack of sharpness, but actually disappointed with the EDS players, especially disappointed in the sense didn't understand the nervousness. That was the thing for me. Football Tricks says Benfica offered their left back Grimando as backup. Yes, Football Tricks. I've also heard it. I think this rumor came, I think 2 days back. I think Alex Grimaldo has been offered. We have been linked to Alex Grimaldo before. He's a natural left back who loves to go on the outside, put crosses in. But the problem with Grimaldo is he needs time to adjust to the Pep system. It's not a natural Pep left back, which means cutting inside, playing those 1-2s, knowing when to go outside. That is not Grimaldo's game. So, and the problem this season is we will not have enough time to, Pep will not have enough time to groom a left back and put him in and stuff like that. It's a World Cup year, so matches will be coming game after game, cup matches. So Alex Grimaldo, the problem is not a typical Pep Guardiola left back. Football Trick says, I like to see Grealish on right wing. That might be the game changer for him, for his City career. I think the game changer for Jack Grealish could be, yeah, you're actually right. On the right wing, he'll have that, he'll have a bit more freedom and space. But again, I think his decision making, I mean, it's not just a problem with Jack Grealish. Actually, it's actually a problem with. I mean, it's a problem with many talented attackers. Actually, in the past, also we have seen that decision making, that's the difference between, a Kaiki and a Riyad Mahrez, for example. Mahrez knows exactly when to release the ball. Kaiki doesn't. He has to work on it. I think it's again the same problem with Jack Grealish as well. I think he needs to work on his decision making. No, Football Trick says Harry Kane has the same had the same path. It was difficult for him to get to the Spurs team, and when he got, the rest is history. Exactly, Football Tricks. The path might be difficult, but the more difficult the path, the better you will become in the journey. And I think the difficult path might actually help Liam Delap grow even more, develop himself even more, because you're competing with Haaland and Alvarez, and if you are able to earn even a little bit of time over playing time over them, it means a hell lot actually. That I mean it again depends. How does Liam Delap see it? If I was Liam Delap, what I would see is what a wonderful way to compete with two world class strikers and learn from them at the same time, along with Pep Guardiola. So I mean the people could say that the path for Liam Delap is the most difficult, but if you really ask me, I would think the path for Liam Delap is the most exciting because of the players he has from whom he can learn from. Football Trick says, see, Foden was the key at EDS, like a leader. Exactly. Football Trick says it's Benfica players. They will fit easily. I mean, fullbacks are a different kind of an animal actually in a Pep Guardiola system. So, and again, my problem is we haven't had a fullback, left back for the last 6 7 years, right? From the time Pep has arrived here, okay, Mendy was there for a couple of games, 3 4 games, and that's it. So my fear is I do not want to bring in another left back who doesn't fit the system, who is injury prone, those kind of things, and want to. And I don't want to see makeshift left backs there. See, we might be winning trophies, we might be winning things, but the thing is, I'm afraid that the potential of that left hand side would not be unlocked in Pep's tenure. That is my big fear. I want us to unlock the potential of that left hand side. I mean, without unlocking it, we have scored so many goals, we have come this far. I just want to see what will happen to our opponents once we unlock that left hand side. And also another interesting thing, guys, is David Raum actually. David Raum to Leipzig is actually done according to Fabrizio Romano. Um, I mean, Guardiol plays there, right? But Guardiol plays as a left-sided centre back. David Raum is gone of our full-back targets. I think now, I think City is just going for Cucurella. I think it's either you get Cucurella or maybe you don't. I mean, what if Brighton Cucurella has 4 more years left on his deal, right? What if Brighton say 50 and we say not more than 40? And what if we walk away from that deal? I would not be surprised if we walk away from that deal. I'm just assessing what are Pep's options if we choose to walk away from that Cucurella deal. And I know it is a highly unlikely scenario, but let us just think over it. Uh, I mean, looking at how Pep was speaking, I think Josh Wilson as brand is actually a more vital option than we think, because looking at Pep speak after the Club America game about Josh Wilson as brand, for example, he hinted a bit that we might not be replacing Zinchenko, and Josh Wilson as brand will be given more minutes this season. It might be in the cup and it might be there, but Raum is gone to Leipzig now, which means that Angelino is the left back there, and we have a 40 million euro buyback clause on Angelino. So, do you guys think that it would be wise to buy back Angelino for 40? Because 40 is our last price, right? We give it to Cucurella. If Cucurella doesn't come for 40, do we activate that Angelino thing? My personal opinion is Angelino doesn't fit the system. We have given him enough time. I mean, we have given him enough chances that I think 2 seasons back, and he was defensively very suspect. So I mean, Angelino is a very good player, but his lack of positional sense and positional awareness, his lack of confidence to defend large spaces behind him. And one of the reasons for that is he plays in a wing back system. So playing in a wing back system is way different to playing in a full back system, in a four at the back system. So I would be wary of Angelino actually. Football fixes. I won't be surprised if Cancelo plays as a left winger against Bayern. I swear these two teams are crazy. And who is the coach who has made these two teams crazy? Pep Guardiola. His influence of Bayern still lives on. That is the legacy of this man. That is the legacy Pep leaves in whatever club he has been. But the change of number for Cancelo, surely not. Will Cancelo play at that left wing position? Grealish must be shit scared now. Ford and Cancelo, Alvarez can potentially play there. Grealish should be shit scared if seeing Cancelo take that number 7 jersey. Football Bricks' Ake will be as left back. Again, Football Bricks, Ake left back. I don't see Nathan Ake as a left back because, like we have talked previously, Ake is too defensive. It doesn't progress the ball well. It almost seems when we are playing Ake that the play has stalled on one side. You're just attacking on the other side, and teams are just defending. Play is just going on our right hand side. No play on the left hand side. So Pep has seen that. So Ake as left back. I don't think, unless it's an emergency situation or something like that, I don't see Ake playing as a left back. And Maybe I think will not replace Zinchenko and Wilson as brand, Ake and maybe a Cucurella. I'm expecting Cucurella to come. Maybe a Cucurella will be our options at left back, with Ake being that hybrid of a centre back and a left back, and Luka MBT as the fourth choice centre back, Wilson as brand as the second left back, but Ake playing as the hybrid between both a centre back and a left back. If this makes sense actually, because I was first thinking of this and wow, what is Pep planning? I think Pep is planning something like this with Calvin Phillips as well, playing a central midfield position and in a centre back position and things like that. So I actually think I think this is actually a good thing because you're blending two youngsters in MBT and Wilson as brand, but if it is an uncertain situation, if it is a situation where your main centre backs are injured and it's a big game and you don't think the young left backs or young centre back can handle it, you can put Ake in there. So I think it's an intelligent thing by Pep covering both the sides. Very good, I would say. Ake to cover in both the sides, but we are also blooding youngsters there. Football Freak says Ake will be a left back. We read that. Football Freak says ESD and Ake will play as left back as well as Canshal. Again, this I think it's almost gonna be a spin the wheel thing in these defensive positions. I think because Cancelo can play as left back, right back. Ake can play as left back, centre back. Uh, Kyle Walker potentially can play as a he will play as a right back, but maybe could chip in that centre back position. I mean, will Pep pick his defenders only if they are capable of playing in multiple positions? This is a question now. I'm really wondering a lot about, I would say. But the most exciting thing for me from that match was, apart from Ortega's distribution, it was MBT. He I think if MBT can develop more, maybe in a year or so, MBT could be our Vincent Company actually. A left footed centre back who has raw pace, who has lots of pace. For a centre back, he has explosive pace. So I'm really thinking, and MBT is a leader as well. So I'm really thinking, are we seeing the homecoming of a Vincent Company over here? So MBT is the one for me to keep an eye on in this preseason, especially against Bayern. I think Bayern will be the game where we can almost confirm has MBT actually arrived, or is MBT still not ready to get into the first team. I mean, if you think about this, if MBT can actually put in a few good performances, especially in the cup games, for example, when it starts, he could challenge Ake. Sorry, he could challenge Laporte genuinely for that starting spot. See, all of the weaknesses of Ake, MBT is having. MBT is covering them up. Like Laporte is slow. MBT has really good pace. He's explosive pace. So Ake is a bit suspect in one-on-one situations. MBT looks very comfortable in one-on-one situations. He literally, I mean, did you see MBT go to ground even one time in those one-on-one situations which he faced? MBT was almost like he was. He knew how to defend. He knew which foot to show the attacker to. I mean, these are all rare qualities for a 19-year-old. I think if Leipzig have Guardiola, I think we have Luka MBT. So, especially after seeing MBT's performance, I know it's just Club America, but I'm really tempted to think that I think MBT will challenge Aymeric Laporte for the starting spot. Football Freak says we may be seeing three at the back system a lot this season. Maybe Football Freaks, maybe that would be the reason why. Maybe Pep is trying a Calvin Phillips in that position. Maybe Pep has retained Ake, because Ake to Chelsea, confirm playing time. Why would Ake not go and stay here? Pep has promised him something. If it was only a two at the back system in all of the games, there was no chance Ake was staying. So has to be a formation change, not for all the games, but could be for some important games. Football Freak says MBT next two games will confirm his place in senior squad. That's Bayern and Liverpool. I'm looking forward to three players. Football Freaks, MBT, Josh Wilson, Esperand and Cole Palmer. these three players, I think I have high hopes on all the three to confirm their place. If they can confirm their place and if they can get additional minutes, that this season could actually be wow. We've got Haaland, Alvarez, and we would literally have at least two of the three youth players breaking through. Could be one of the most exciting seasons in the club's history. This season, if these players can manage to break through into the first team, maybe not play all games, but play a lot of minutes. This could be the start. Actually, this could be the start of our very own class of '99. That this could be exciting because not just for these players, it would be a morale boost to the academy as well. The academy could look and think, so many good players, and yet our lads made it. World class centre backs and Diaz and Laporte, and yet Luka Mbiti was able to hold on to his spot. Well, the message this would send, the boost it would give to our academy would be fantastic. But again, Bayern will be important. Liverpool, I think, will be the clincher actually because I think last season or before that, I think I don't remember well. I think it was last season only. Edozie did very well in the three preseason games, but then he just dropped off a bit in that Liverpool game, and then it just went downhill actually in the Community Shield, and it went downhill for him from there. So Liverpool game will actually be very important. It would Bayern game would confirm their place for the Liverpool game, and if they play well in that Liverpool game, Pep has no choice. Pep has to start these youngsters, and you, especially with Josh Wilson as brand, you do not know if we will be able to get Cucurella and when the season starts, because it's just 2 weeks till the season starts, right? It will be difficult to get Cucurella and be done with all the formalities until the until the Shield game, until the Community Shield game. So Wilson as brand, I think, will definitely have chances in both these games. Yeah, like you said, these three players, they have a chance to nail down their spot, and especially there are openings there in the team for Wilson, Esbrand, and Palmer. So, and MBT has created an opening there. So, will be very interesting. That the Bayern match will be very exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing Leroy Sané as well over there, returning to playing us again. Football Click says this could be the start of our own very own La Masia breakout season, which Barca had in 2009. Yes, and the exciting thing about this is we have a manager who orchestrated that breakout season in 2009. And it's not just the manager, all of the team, Tisiki Badaristan, Ferran Soriano, Pep Guardiola, all the three were there at that time as well in 2009. And at that time, these three were relatively inexperienced. Pep Guardiola was just getting into management and stuff. But right now, an experienced a Pep who has developed numerous young players, would have done some mistakes down the line. That experience will really help these young players get through. I think we would top the La Masia as well in the next 4 or 5 years. I mean, my personal opinion is in the next 4 or 5 years, I think we won't be buying players anymore. All of our players will be coming from the academy. If you see the next pen table this season, or if you see the next pen table, our next pen table in the last 5 years, minus £100 million. That would just double up or even triple up after the next 4 or 5 years. I mean, we could top La Masia actually. We could become even better than La Masia, our academy. Football Trick says Suso is about 25 million pounds. A Croatian is required to win the UCL. Maybe we'll break that jinx. Football Quicks. We are the ones who might just break that jinx. You never know actually. Again, I think according to what Fabrizio Romano says, Pep really wants Cucurella. I mean, it's strange. It's a bit strange that right from the starting of this transfer window, Fabrizio Romano has been mentioning that Cucurella is the target of Pep Guardiola. Pep really wants Cucurella. So I don't think this 30 million, 40 million, 50 million pounds is the matter. Money is again not the matter in this transfer window. But what I'm a little bit concerned about is we are a football club who we set some rules, we operate according to some values, like we evaluate the value of a player in a free market, and if he is 40 is our value, and if the opposition tells 50, we tend to walk away from the deals. And I can't blame the club now and say, oh, you should not walk away from the deal. How irresponsible are you and all? Because all of the deals we have walked away in the past, in the hindsight, they look bad, but right now they looked very, very good that we didn't do those deals. When we went for Harry Maguire, he was a very good defender at Leicester. We thought that we are getting a leader, we are getting someone with perfect ball playing ability, perfect heading ability and all. And look at what Harry Maguire has turned into. In Fred, it seemed as if we were getting the next Fernandinho. He was very mobile, had that tenacity in the midfield, Brazilian. We thought he was Fernandino's hair. So I mean, all of that, I can't complain about the club in this aspect, because all of the transfers that we have missed because we didn't choose to go and exceed the valuation that we thought was correct for the player. All of those missed transfers were actually the reason why we are maybe winning these trophies. You never know, if a Harry Maguire, if a Fred had come into this team, you never know. There could have been divisions in the team. You never know if the style of play of the team could have been the same. I mean, a lot of factors go into that. So happy that we missed out on those players actually. Football tricks is actually like to see Posh. I may sound crazy, but he can take this team to next level with his PL experience. I know PSG was a flop project. This could revive his career. Football tricks. In the past, I was actually very critical of Pochettino, especially that I always I would always say to people that Pochettino, what a failure he is. Had Tottenham's golden generation, couldn't do anything. Had these golden players at PSG, couldn't do anything. But but the more I think about this, I think actually I was wrong, especially with this PSG thing actually, because PSG is a team which, looking back at it, I don't think even a Pep Guardiola or a Jose Mourinho could have won trophies with that team, because it was not a team. It was just a group of ego-minded, big-headed individuals who thought that they were above the game. And once you start thinking that you are above the football game, I don't bloody care whoever you are never above the game. And the moment you start thinking about that, you're gone, you're useless. And that is what happened to PSG. So I would never judge PSG. I mean, I would never judge Pochettino based on the PSG experience. Pochettino, for me, Pochettino is a very technical coach. He actually knows all of his strengths and weaknesses inside out. I think he could be the perfect head to Pep Guardiola. But again, the only question people have on him is, does he have that winning mentality? That is the only question that people have. And another question that people have on Pochettino is, and this is going to be very important. The question is, can Pochettino rebuild a team? Can Pochettino transition a team? See, this is the most important question, because how did Manchester United collapse after Sir Alex Ferguson? No, they got in managers who were just not capable of transitioning the team well. My worry with us selecting the next manager is that manager, even though he's a small name, I don't care if he is capable of transitioning us, and is he capable of building multiple teams like Pep has done. So those two qualities for me, I would not judge him based on his Tottenham experience, his PSG experience. He did wonderfully well at Tottenham in contrast to it. But that rebuilding of a team thing is a big question mark, because at the end of the Tottenham tenure, you have actually seen that it all went stale and something. See, Pep plays almost the same style of play, right? The principles are the same, but Pep refreshes it every season. If you see, there is something new every season. When Pep started out in the Premier League, you had those two cams, right? Two attacking midfielders, and then what Pep did was he transitioned after a year into a CM, which Bernardo is playing. Pep tried that wing backs for one or two games in the 2017 season. Pep refreshes it. It might not seem in the style of play, but he refreshes it in terms of the movement, the terms of the passing, the terms of fluidity, and I mean a lot of things, lot of things. So can Pochettino do that? I mean, these are the three big questions for me. So otherwise, if I can get a concrete answer for these three questions, because we have to be really careful about the transitions, because we've seen a lot of teams go absolute from a dynasty, from ruling a dynasty, go to absolute paupers due to a lack of good transitioning after managerial change. So that will be very important. Football Bricks says Posh is the guy who can transition academy and first team players, especially what he did with Spurs, Southampton, Espanyol. Uh, that is true in a way, Football Bricks, but I think the role will be a little bit different here, because again, we will be having star players there. I mean, how can you? I mean, how can you make a Erling Haaland? For example, this is the question. If I will ask Posh, if I'm interviewing him, last Posh, do you have the guts in you to bench an Erling Haaland and play a Julian Alvarez or a Liam Delap? Pep Guardiola can do that, no questions asked, because of the stature of a manager he is. But can Pochettino do that? Does the manager have that personality? Whoever is coming in, how will he manage all of those huge personalities? How do you keep Erling Haaland happy, even though you don't give him minutes? For example, how do you keep Julian Alvarez or Jack Grealish happy on the bench without giving him minutes and benching him? So all of these things, are part of this thing, and these are the question marks for me about Pochettino. It's not just, I know Pochettino does well with the youth, does well with the transitioning of players, but has Pochettino has this dilemma, because at Spurs, right? At Spurs, actually, Pochettino struggled with this. Pochettino had only Kane, Son, right, at that time, and Lucas Moura, for example, playing there, Ericsson and all. So Pochettino had a study first team, and then Pochettino, literally all of those years when Posh was there, if you see, he struggled to bring a backup to Harry Kane, for example. He struggled to bring a backup to Son, because he couldn't convince the players that you will be getting fewer minutes, you will be sitting on the bench. Look at Antonio Conte. He has convinced Richarlison to leave his almost guaranteed starting place and come to Spurs, even though he'll have reduced minutes. So that is the thing with Pochettino. That is something he has not been tested. Even with PSG, right? He had a very much settled first team, settled in the sense that he knew all the big players. So he didn't have the dilemma. But at City, we are competing for all of the competitions. You really need to chop and change. You really need to you need to have the guts to bench. For example, call off a Kevin De Bruyne at halftime, like Pep did in the Real Madrid second leg when the game's not going well. So how do you do that without affecting the ego of players? I mean, tough questions. If you have to replace Pep, the questions are not about the talent, not that. I mean, talent, technicality, bringing youth. All of those are important, but the questions don't end there. The qualifications, if you want to see someone who can replace Pep, the qualifications just start there. The real question is all of these things that we have discussed. How do you manage big egos in the dressing room? That is the thing. Football Freak says, yeah, exactly. This is where Arteta is our guy. He is bold enough to do so, and plus City will be watching him closely. Exactly, Football Freaks. That is the reason. Like you said, spot on. Arteta. This is where Arteta really comes through for me, because he has done that exactly at Arsenal, especially when he has gone. Okay, not entirely, but he has almost collided with a few players, and he has put down the law. This is the law. Like Pep Guardiola came and he put down the law for Yaya Toure. For example, the agent should apologize to me, or else I will not start him. I think you need a manager who's putting down the law and yet not upsetting people. So Arteta is the one, and I somehow feel, it's a gut feeling, that Graham Potter is also that kind of a manager who will know how to manage all of these players. So the egos of these players. So for me, Arteta and Graham Potter, if you're looking at replacing Pep in 3-4 years time. Football Click says Arteta did this with Ozil, Auba, Saka. Exactly, he put down the law. Literally, when Arteta came into Arsenal, I thought it was one of the most difficult jobs. People say United is a difficult job right now, but shit. It's shit difficult. They spend so much money, but with Arteta, you know Arsenal, right? Okay, they're spending in this window, but last window before that, they didn't spend anything, right? This squad was made up of players who created groups in the dressing room. There were divisions in the dressing room. There were players like Abu Mayang who thought that they were bigger than the club. I mean, lot of things. The best thing about Arteta is he went into a divided dressing room and he united them. And even though the divisions were present, he helped Arsenal to a victory against City in the FA Cup semi-final. If you remember, that victory still hurts, but Sterling missed chances in that. He missed easy chances in that FA Cup semi-final victory 2 seasons back. So that for me showed the first signs of Arteta. This guy is very strong, has a very strong character, and then slowly he built a team. And right now, it's the most impressive thing he has literally done to show the hierarchy at City. This guy is very good at transitions. This guy is very good at leading a team from one manager to another. His bold, his courage, his personality, all of the characters, all of the qualities you look for in a city manager if you want to replace Pep. So I mean, it will be a bit tricky. We never know which candidates will come up in 3 4 years time. But again, I have full confidence on our hierarchy. But again, we should not go down the route of what a United did, the mistake of what a United did. That just strikes for me how United just self sabotage themselves after Sir Alex Ferguson. I think that is something we need to really keep in mind, because we have built such a good academy structure. We have built such a good thing, which, like Football Critics says, Football Critics said it almost our academy will rival La Masia in the next 2 3 years. It is already rivaling and will be bigger than La Masia in the next 2 3 years. We're producing some of the world's best talent. We are, and this engine is just getting started, just clicking into gear. So actually, I mean, all of these good things happening. So I would really think that next appointment after Pep goes, will be the turning point in this club's the part that the club will take in the next few years. I think it's going to be so important. Anyway, guys, thank you so much again for joining me. Football Quick says candidates will be Arteta, Potter, Company, Vieira as of now. Maybe Kundo, KDP. You never know in the next 4 years, Football Freaks. But Arteta and Potter are sure. Vieira, I'm not that sure of Patrick Vieira, because his playing style is different actually than what we expect at City. Vincent Kompany, again, I haven't quite watched how Vincent Kompany teams play, and also I can't judge Vincent Kompany over there. KDB and Gundo, again, I think I would not be surprised if Pep maybe brings a younger version of himself. Like maybe when the club asked Pep for suggestions, Pep would see, okay, when I was breaking out at Barcelona, I didn't have any experience, right? I was coaching the second team and I had to come on to the first team. Maybe Pep might look at an EDS manager, someone after 4 years who would be working there, or maybe a Gundogan or a KDP or Fernandino who are just coming up. You never know. Pep is Pep. I just trust Pep. Pep could do the most crazy thing, but what I'm very sure is Pep will never recommend as a manager who is vastly experienced and stuff like that. Pep will recommend a manager who is in with the ethos of the club, a manager who will always look to innovate, a manager who Pep thinks he's taking on a challenge by recommending that manager, because Pep doesn't like straightforward things, right? Pep always likes to innovate, do crazy things. I think the managerial recommendation by Pep will actually be the same. It will be we could see a totally different candidate who we would not have even discussed here. But my gut feel says Pep will recommend Graham Potter, because whenever we have played Brighton, Pep always says Brighton is only one of the few teams who like to play football with us. All of the others, they like to hit us on the counter and all. Brighton are the only team that competes toe to toe with us. They are not afraid. They innovate against us. They Brighton are one of the only teams who have dominated that midfield with City. They're not afraid. So I think the name will be Graham Potter, but yeah, it will be very close between Potter and Arteta. Actually, we'll have to see. Hopefully, the decision will be a good one. And guys, by the way, we'll be having a watch along for the City and Bayern game, just like we had a watch along for the Club America and Club America and City game last time. So I really hope that the match will be as exciting as the Club America game was. It will be as competitive as the Club America game was. Football kicks is why not go for Klopp. Actually, an interesting choice, but I don't think Pep is that crazy as well to go for Klopp. No, in that sense, Pep is a bit level-headed. I mean, a swap deal could not be a bad idea for bulk weeks. Klopp and Pep, just like they swap players, you swap managers for 1 2 years. Why not do that? That could actually be an interesting suggestion. Didn't think that way. Will be a very interesting suggestion from swapping the managers. And when Pep says, I would like a new challenge, why not Pep? We'll take Klopp for 1 or 2 seasons. When you go to Liverpool, swap deal. That's that would actually be interesting, but I think it will never be done. Anyway, guys, join us for the watch along versus Bayern. I think the match is at 4:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. I just hope the match will be very competitive. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. It was wonderful. The discussions and the conversations. We've gone through the ratings of players and all. The ratings were mixed. But most of the ratings were actually good, and I do hope we complete the Cucurella deal soon. Actually, and I can't wait for the season to start. The season already seems exciting, right from the Club America match. It already started excitingly. I just can't imagine how exciting this season will be. Can't wait for it to start. Anyway, guys, take care, guys, and see you all again.